Good afternoon, I'm Malcolm Jordan and this is your Midday News Fix for Friday the 11th of October. A lawyer says the government's broad acceptance of the Royal Commission of Inquiry of abuse and care findings is underwhelming. It found about 200,000 people were abused in state and faith-based institutions between 1950 and 2019. The Prime Minister will make a formal apology to survivors next month. Lead Coordination Minister Erica Stanford says the government broadly accepts the findings and is working on responses. Lawyer for thousands of survivors, Sonia Cooper, expected more after months of waiting.
Other than the public apology, there isn't really anything there, and I think this must be deeply disappointing and another big letdown to survivors.
US President Joe Biden's warned people or companies taking advantage of people's desperation after Hurricane Milton, they'll be held accountable. There's widespread damage across the state with flooding still affecting some areas. NBC News is reporting that 12 people have died. Governor Ron DeSantis says 340 people and 49 pets have been rescued. CNN's Lee Waldman is in Sarasota, Florida.
It did have water over the bridges, and so looking at Florida 511's website, those bridges are still closed off right now. So it's hampering efforts to get onto those barrier islands.
An Auckland woman's been remanded in custody after appearing in court, charged with stabbing a Christchurch taxi driver last night. Police arrested 45-year-old Rangi Maria Sellers at a hotel near the Memorial Ave McDonald's, where the victim had arrived with stab wounds about 10:30 p.m. He has critical injuries but is stable. The opposition is blaming government tax cuts for a weaker than expected economy. Treasury's released documents showing the Crown's deficit has grown $3.4 billion annually to June to $12.9 billion. Spending is outpacing income, despite revenue increasing by $14 billion. Labour's Barbara Edmonds says cuts to tax and the public sector worsened the books.
It didn't need to be as bad as it did, but those were the choices that this government has made. The annual deficit is higher than it was in 2020 at the height of COVID.
The government's outlined expectations for the Electricity Authority in its government policy statement. Energy Minister Simeon Brown says he's aiming to deliver secure electricity at internationally competitive prices. Energy costs have been rising, and multiple large manufacturers say that's pushed them into closing down. Thomas Rice has more.
Simeon Brown says they want the Electricity Authority to drive a more competitive, fuel-agnostic electricity sector that avoids excessive prices. He says this confirms the government has a role in making sure market settings are correct and enabling private investment.
To sport, golfer Ryan Fox is in a tie for fourth after an opening round 6 under par 65 at the latest US PGA Tour event in Utah. He's 3 strokes off the lead. The roof panels over the home of baseball's Tampa Bay Rays have been ripped to shreds by the force of Hurricane Milton, with debris littering the field. NBA basketballer Steven Adams is the latest to invest in Auckland FC, 8 days from the club's debut match in football's A-League. And Tamati Ellison has moved on from the Crusaders staff to join the All Blacks in a permanent assistant role. I'm Malcolm Jordan, that's your latest news fix. We'll be back with the next update at 5 p.m. from the Newstalk ZB newsroom.